מה שתראו הכל היה באמת.
I'm on the edge.
Hello, I'm Clovis Casali in Paris. Welcome to Encore. Today, it's our cinema show with our in-house expert, Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Clovis.
Very nice t-shirt.
Thank you.
Let's talk about one of the most hotly anticipated films of the year. I'm talking about Dune, of course. After the 1984 David Lynch take on it with Sting, well, this time it's Canadian filmmaker Denis Villeneuve who's adapted what some have called the greatest sci-fi novel of all times. This opus was written by Frank Herbert in the 1960s. The world premiere was at the last Venice Film Festival, and it stars, of course, Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, and Zendaya. Tell us more.
Well, I'd like to start by saying that what I happen to think of this movie doesn't really matter. The people
Pretty straightforward.
The people who want to see it are self-selecting, and I'll wager there are enough such people to pave a commercial pathway to also filming the rest of this story and the 5 sequels Frank Herbert wrote to the original book. Timothée Chalamet plays a handsome young man who may have been bred to lead the intergalactic known universe, and that's hard to fit on a business card. I like the ancient tales of a hero's journey, the Odyssey, the Iliad, many of the Greek myths. Even Beowulf delighted me as a student, but I seem to be close to impervious to the more recent incarnations. Star Wars has always left me unmoved. The Lord of the Rings was
Star
fine.
Wars left you unmoved?
Yeah, I think I was too old when the first one came out. And Lord of the Rings was fine, but not my idea of fun. And Dune, well, I'm not sure that when we're past the year 2000, we're going to be asking each other in English whether we're good to go.
Well, Lisa, let's watch a clip of Dune and hear from director Denis Villeneuve, who was talking about how relevant the themes are still today. Take a look.
The outsiders ravage our lands in front of our eyes. Their cruelty to my people is all I've known. What's to become of our world?
I will say, sadly, the book is more relevant than it used to be in the 60s. And when we talk about problem within the environment, political problem because of the merge of politics and religion, all this, it's like all the things that are sadly more relevant today.
The Emperor asks us to bring peace to Arrakis. House Atreides accepts.
I know you. There's something awakening in my mind.
You need to face your fears.
Come with me.
Well, in my humble opinion, it does look quite appealing indeed. Dune sold millions of copies. It's as influential as, say, Lord of the Rings. We mentioned earlier that David Lynch adapted it. Another major cinema figure tried his luck at Dune. Tell us more.
Absolutely. Whether you seek out Villeneuve's version or not, please note that Jodorowsky's Dune, the 2013 documentary about the ways in which Chilean visionary Alejandro Jodorowsky's planned version of the book experienced bottomless setbacks and was never made, is a terrific detective tale. Had Dune been made as planned in the 1970s, the cast would have included Salvador Dali, Orson Welles, Gloria Swanson,
Wow.
Mick Jagger, Alain Delon, and Udo Kier. It also would have lasted 12 hours. It's not a terribly good sign when a film about a film that was never made is more thrilling than a film that did get made.
And Dune fans in France will actually get to see the movie a month before the US. Tell us why. I think it's all about big studio strategies, no?
It is. We're seeing Dune in France and throughout Europe a month ahead of the US because at the height of the pandemic, when movie theaters were shut, Warner Brothers decided to show their entire 2021 slate on their subscription platform channel, HBO Max. Yep, on TV. So a little more about the movie itself. Charlotte Rampling is the incredibly scary as the no-nonsense high priestess. In fact, a case can be made that it's really women who run the universe. There's a lot of fighting. Characters are constantly landing and taking off from various locations, most of them hot and dusty. Wouldn't be good for people like me with contact lenses.
You're talking about streaming. Streaming important, but movies also, so please go to movie venues. Anyway, to another film. It's called Supernova, starring Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci. Touching, nostalgic. It's a last chance road trip for two long-time partners. Tell us more, because you've seen the movie.
This is a relatively modest but absolutely lovely film that's very involving thanks to excellent performances. Sam is a professional pianist, and Tusker is a successful novelist. Tusker, who has been diagnosed with memory loss, deliberately leaves his medication at home when the two sweethearts set out in their van to visit friends and family with a recital by Sam, The Ultimate Destination. Now, we understand how comfortably united they are by the way they speak to each other, although we don't immediately grasp that Tusker is, in fact, literally losing his mind. He wants to be remembered as a functioning person with a full personality. Sam wants to devote himself to his true love, even if the personality he fell for is gradually being stripped away by illness. The film explores, with some humor, don't be scared, what it means to truly love and respect someone and where mortality fits in.
Earlier I was telling you that it seemed like a sad film. You told me, rightly so, there's no depressing films, only bad films. Clearly not the case here. Let's take a look at the trailer.
I want to be remembered for who I was, but not for who I'm about to become. It's not fair to you.
It's not about fair. It's about love.
No, Sam.
I want to see this through with you to the end. Costa!
I'm sorry. You know, a very wise man once said, "We will not starve for lack of wonders, but from lack of wonder."
And out this week in France is the latest film by Israeli writer-director Nadav Lapid. It's called Aheds Knee. It's shared the jury prize in Cannes, where it premiered this past July. What's it about? It's quite political, isn't it?
It is. This is Lapid's fourth feature film in 10 years. His specialty has been criticizing his native Israel. This time around, he's not merely criticizing, he is blasting the nation for what he sees as its controlling hypocrisy. Now, some people say the protagonist is a stand-in for Lapid himself. I can't be sure about that, but the main character is a cranky, impatient, outspoken filmmaker, the only name we're given is the letter Y, who seems angry at his own skin for obliging him to live in it. When Y travels to an Israeli town to show one of his films and discuss it with the audience, he's asked to comply with a government-mandated procedure that displeases him, let's say much the way the sight of a young woman in a short skirt on her way to school would displease a member of the Taliban.
Wow, let's watch a clip of Aheds Knee and also hear from the director himself on what is maybe his most radical film.
אמא שלי שכותבת איתי את התסריטים לסרטים שלי תמיד אומרת בסוף הגיאוגרפיה מנצחת. היא אומרת את זה מהמקור על ישראל.
I was driven by a sense of urgency. Israelis need to be aware, the world needs to be aware of where we are, who we are in the process of becoming, and what dead end we're reaching.
As always, the title of the film was carefully chosen. Why Aheds Knee, Lisa?
Well, Ahed Tamimi is a Palestinian activist whose home in a West Bank village Israeli soldiers entered in search of protesters in 2018 when she was just 16. She slapped a soldier, which landed her in prison for 8 months and made her a symbol of dangerous impertinence, even terrorism for some, and of heroic resistance for others. An Israeli politician said that Ahed should have been kneecapped to cripple her and teach her a lesson, not what you'd call a diplomatic solution. The people who love this director's work really love it. I'm not one of them for the moment, but he is unquestionably a gifted filmmaker with strong personal ideas to convey.
Oh, an interesting film anyway. The 10th edition of the ChampsElysees Film Festival here in Paris gets underway this week. It's a showcase dedicated to American and French films with an independent approach. What has caught your eye this year, Lisa? What's it about, this festival?
Well, the Champs-Élysées Film Festival isn't difficult to find. It's taking place in the movie theaters on Paris's famous thoroughfare.
The most beautiful avenue in the world, of course.
That's what they say. It's completely designed for regular folks. It's inexpensive. You can buy a pass. You can march up and get an individual ticket. And it's completely friendly and unthreatening, which isn't always the case with some film events. This year, the event is honoring American independent filmmaker Susan Seidelman. Now, you may not know her by name, but you're probably familiar with the co-star of Seidelman's 1985 screwball comedy Desperately Seeking Susan. That was Madonna's first film role.
Wow.
And the story goes that Seidelman encouraged the producers to cast Madonna because the two women were neighbors, and Seidelman thought Madonna, despite her complete lack of acting experience, would give the film some downtown New York street cred and authenticity. Seidelman also directed the pilot episode for the TV series Sex and the City. She incorporated transgender and disabled characters way ahead of the curve and has had fun playing with traditional role reversals and the sex lives of aging baby boomers, among other topics.
Well, that will be at the Champs-Élysées, and it's always good to have festivals where the public can go and not just professionals. Well, we'll leave you with a taste of this year's Champs-Élysées Film Festival running until September 21st. Thank you all for watching. Remember, you can find us on all social networks and on our website. Stay with us on France 24, France 24 for always more international news.
Made your offer a little too soon. You're seeing as one, just already asking. Together tonight, are praised by different standards. And it wouldn't seem right. It's not my plan.
France by France 24. From the workshop to the catwalk, follow the latest trends on fashion. From fine dining to architecture and much more, discover uniquely French talents on You Are Here. Straight talking and frank views from residents of France's tough suburbs who film their lives for the Bonheur Project. An in-depth look at political and social events shaping France in Focus. A quirky insider's guide to understanding France and the French on French Connections. Every day, watch France by France 24 on France 24 and France24.com.